Picture this. It's a Tuesday evening. You ran into the grocery store for 3 things: milk, bread, eggs. You had a plan. You had a list. You were in and out in 20 minutes. Except you weren't. You're standing at the checkout and the total is $127. You stare at the screen. You look down at your cart. There's a rotisserie chicken you didn't plan on, 2 bags of chips, a candle that smells like vanilla, a buy 2 get 1 pasta sauce deal that you don't even really like. And somehow, somewhere in that fluorescent lit maze, you spent $127 when you came in for $12 worth of groceries. And the worst part? You don't even feel bad about it, because everything in that store made it feel completely reasonable. That is not an accident. That is architecture. My name is Zane, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible systems that quietly drain your wallet while you're busy living your life. If you're someone who keeps blowing their grocery budget every single week and can't figure out why, or if you feel like food costs are somehow eating your paycheck alive even though you're not buying anything crazy, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out.
Because today, we're not talking about couponing. We're not talking about meal prep hacks. We're talking about something much bigger. We're talking about the fact that the modern American supermarket is one of the most sophisticated psychological manipulation environments ever engineered. And the average American family is losing roughly $3,000 a year inside of it without ever knowing why. Here's the thing most people don't understand about grocery stores. They are not stores, not really. They are carefully designed extraction machines. Every single element, the lighting, the music, the layout, the smell, the placement of every product on every shelf has been tested, optimized, and deliberately arranged to do one thing: get you to spend more money than you planned. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a multi-billion-dollar science called retail environment psychology, and grocery chains spend enormous amounts of money on it every single year. They hire experts, they run studies, they track your eye movement, your walking pace, your basket size. They know more about how you shop than you do, and they use every single piece of that knowledge against you. Let's start at the beginning. The entrance.
You walk into almost any major grocery store in America, and the first thing you see is the produce section. Fresh fruit, bright colors, the smell of something clean and natural. Now ask yourself why. Why is produce always at the front? Logically, produce is fragile. You should buy it last so it doesn't get crushed, but it's always first. And the reason is psychological. Starting your shopping trip surrounded by fresh, healthy food puts you in what researchers call a virtuous mindset. You feel good about yourself. You feel like a responsible, health-conscious person. And what happens when people feel virtuous? They give themselves permission to reward themselves later. You grab the apples, and your brain quietly says, "I'm being so good today," which makes it significantly easier to justify the cookies, the chips, and the $14 bottle of olive oil you didn't need by the time you reach aisle 7. That virtuous halo at the entrance is deliberately manufactured to lower your financial defenses before you've even grabbed a cart.
Now let's talk about the layout. And this is where it gets genuinely sinister. Every grocery store on earth puts the staples, the things you actually came for, milk, eggs, bread, meat, at the back and the edges of the store. Why? Because to get there, you have to walk through everything else. You have to pass the snack aisle. You have to pass the prepared food section. You have to pass the bakery where they pump the smell of fresh bread through the ventilation system at specific times of day, because studies show that the smell of baking bread increases overall spending by measurable percentages. They are pumping appetite triggers into the air like a slot machine pumps oxygen onto a casino floor. The average American grocery store has roughly 40,000 products. You need maybe 150 of them on a regular basis. The entire layout is designed to make sure you encounter as many of those other 39,850 products as possible on your way to the 150 you actually want. Every extra product you see is a chance for an impulse purchase, and impulse purchases, items you did not plan to buy, account for roughly 50 to 70% of what ends up in your cart, according to research from the Point of Purchase Advertising International. Half of everything in your cart? Unplanned.
Now, let's talk about shelf placement, because this is where the money really moves. Eye level is buy level. This is one of the oldest rules in retail, and grocery stores execute it ruthlessly. The products at eye level are not there because they're the best value.
They're there because the brands paid a premium placement fee to be there. That's right, the brands pay the store for the shelf space. It's called slotting fees, and it's a massive revenue stream for grocery chains that has nothing to do with product quality or price. The best value products, the store brands, the generic equivalents, are almost always on the bottom shelf, below your line of sight, requiring you to actually bend down and look. Most people don't. They grab what's in front of them, which is exactly what the store designed them to do. And then there are the end caps, those displays at the end of every aisle that screams sale in giant red letters. Studies consistently show that products on end caps sell 4 to 5 times more than the same product on a regular shelf, even when there is no actual discount. The visual language of the end cap, the positioning, the signage, the urgency, triggers a buying impulse completely independent of actual value. Sometimes the end cap price is identical to the regular shelf price. Sometimes it's actually higher. But your brain sees the display and reads it as a deal, because that's the association the store has trained you to make over thousands of shopping trips.
Let's talk about pricing psychology, because this is where the store is basically picking your pocket with your enthusiastic cooperation. The $99 pricing is so old it almost feels quaint, but it still works. $3.99 genuinely registers differently in your brain than $4, but that's just the beginning. The more sophisticated trap is the unit pricing confusion. That giant display says 2 for $5. Your brain reads deal, but is it a deal? Sometimes the single item is $2.49, which means buying 2 actually costs you more per unit. The store is counting on you not doing that math in the aisle. They're counting on the visual format of 2 for X to trigger a buying pattern without triggering a calculating one. Then there's the sale anchor. An item is marked was $6.99, now $4.99. Your brain locks onto the $6.99 as the reference point and celebrates the $4.99 as a victory. But what if the item was $4.99 last month? What if $6.99 was a briefly inflated price specifically designed to make $4.99 look like a discount? In retail, this is called high-low pricing, and it is completely legal, extremely common, and almost impossible to catch in the moment. And the loyalty card. Don't even get me started on the loyalty card. You scan your card and get the member discount, and it feels like the store is doing you a favor. What's actually happening is that you're trading your complete purchase history, every single item, every frequency, every pattern, to the store's data operation in exchange for a discount off a price that was inflated specifically so the discounted price could feel like a win. The loyalty card isn't a reward program. It's a data harvesting operation where you pay with your behavioral information and receive the illusion of savings in return. Now let's talk about the number that actually matters, the $3,000. The USDA reports that the average American household spends somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 on groceries per year, depending on household size. Research from consumer behavior studies consistently shows that shoppers without a specific list spend 20 to 40% more than shoppers with one. Split the difference and call it 30%. On a $10,000 annual grocery budget, 30% is $3,000. $3,000 extracted annually through architecture, psychology, and behavioral manipulation. That's a car payment. That's a Roth IRA contribution. That's a family vacation. And it's leaving your wallet one impulse purchase at a time, in a building specifically engineered to make sure you never notice it happening. But here's where it gets really interesting, because it's not just the manipulation tactics in isolation, it's the compounding of them. You enter through produce and feel virtuous. The baking bread smell hits you and you're suddenly hungry even though you ate before you left the house. Never shop hungry is advice everyone has heard and almost nobody follows consistently. A study out of Cornell found that hungry shoppers buy 64% more high-calorie food items.
But the store knows this. The bakery and deli smells are partly designed to trigger that appetite response, because appetite shuts down rational purchasing behavior. You stop calculating and start craving. Then you hit the aisle. You see the end cap with the big red sale sign. You grab it. You pass the premium branded eye level and reach for it without looking down. You see the 2 for $5 deal and grab 2. By the time you get to milk and eggs at the back of the store, your cart is already half full of things you didn't plan to buy, and your brain has long since stopped auditing. And when you get to the checkout line, there's one final gauntlet, the impulse zone. Candy, magazines, travel-size products, batteries, small items in the $2 to $8 range.
placed at eye level for adults and lower for children. The items are cheap enough that adding them doesn't feel significant, but that $3 candy bar and $4 magazine and $2 pack of gum adds up, and across millions of transactions, that checkout zone alone generates enormous revenue for grocery chains, which is why every single one of them has it and why it always looks basically identical.
So what do you do about it? The first and most powerful thing is the list. Not a rough mental list, a written, specific, categorized list made before you go, ideally right after you've eaten. Every item, every quantity. This one habit, practiced consistently, is roughly $1,500 a year based on the spending differential data. The list is armor. The store can still manipulate you, but a list creates a checkpoint. Did I plan to buy this? No. Put it back. The second thing is unit price literacy. Every shelf in every major grocery store is required by law to display the unit price, the cost per ounce or per count, usually in small print on the shelf tag. Train yourself to look at that number instead of the package price. That's the only number that lets you make a real comparison. The big package isn't always cheaper per unit. The sale item isn't always the best value. The unit price doesn't lie. Third, shop the perimeter first and last. The perimeter is where the real food is: produce, meat, dairy. The interior aisles are where the processed, packaged, high-margin products live. If you shop the perimeter with your list, grab your staples, and only enter specific interior aisles for specific planned items, you dramatically reduce your exposure to the manipulation architecture. Fourth, use a basket instead of a cart when you're doing a small trip. Carts are enormous. They're designed to be enormous. An empty cart creates a psychological pressure to fill it. A basket creates a natural limit. You physically cannot buy more than you can carry. This one simple substitution can reduce small trip spending by 20 to 30%. And fifth, and this is the one that actually changes the game long term, start tracking your grocery spending weekly. Not to the penny, just total. Most people have no idea what they spend on groceries. The store is counting on that. Visibility creates accountability. When you know you spent $340 last week, you walk into this week's trip with a different relationship to the cart.
Here's the mind shift that ties all of this together. The grocery store is not a neutral environment. It is an adversarial one. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that means they're evil. They're a business optimizing for revenue. That's what businesses do. But understanding that the environment is designed to work against your financial interests changes how you move through it. You stop being a passive consumer in a store, and you start being a deliberate buyer executing a plan. That rotisserie chicken you didn't plan on isn't a treat. It's the store winning. The end cap deal you grabbed without checking the unit price isn't savings. It's the store winning. The $127 checkout total when you came in for $12 of groceries isn't a coincidence. It's the store winning every single time until you decide to actually play the game back. $3,000 a year. That's what's on the table. That's what goes back in your pocket when you understand how the machine works and decide to stop feeding it. The store built the trap, but nobody forced you to walk in without a plan. Now you know. The question is whether you're going to shop like a customer or think like a CFO the next time those automatic doors slide open.
If this video made you look at your grocery receipt differently, smash that like button and subscribe, because we are going to keep doing this. Keep pulling back the curtain on the invisible systems quietly running your financial life. I'll see you in the next one.